Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to use Endpoint Manager in FreePBX. Right now I'm using FreePBX 2.10, however it's pretty similar in terms of Endpoint Manager all the way down to version 2.5 of FreePBX, so the menus are a little different up here. Normally they're on the side, but it still should work pretty much the same. So what we do is we are going to go down here and we're going to install it. I should mention that this is version 2.10.3.2 of Endpoint Manager. So we're just going to click install here. I'm going to go up, process, confirm, and we can see right here it's been installed. It gives you little status messages and return. Make sure that it's all good. First thing you want to do is you're going to go over here. Usually people normally just click on a device list from Endpoint Manager. Click here. Now the first thing you're going to notice is it says warning assets missing. You really have to make sure that you click this apply config, otherwise the JavaScript files, the images, and the CSS files will not transfer over. So FreePBX manages that, so we just have to click apply config here. Comes over. This is still here because it's JavaScript applied, so you just have to refresh the page. And then should all be good. That message will be gone. Then we need to click here, which is just going to take us over to the configuration manager. All this actually does is just like a downloader for online. It gets all the JSON files and all the packages and unpackages them for you, so you don't have to do that manually. So we'll just click check for updates. It works very similar to module admin for FreePBX itself. I pretty much have all these phones, so I'm just going to click install on the Polycom. Let it download. Go to return. And then you should see a list of phones right here. Now in version 2.10 I haven't completely fixed this yet, but normally it would show red or green or gray if these were enabled or disabled, but there's some CSS that I still have to fix. So fortunately they're all one color. You kind of have to look really close to see what you're doing. I have a 550 sitting right next to me. Then I have a 430 over there, and let's see, I have a 601. You just kind of got to do this for every phone. And let's see, what else do I have? Oh, 331, that's right. 330. That's right, I have a 330. Okay, then we can install firmware for each of these. Install firmware. Kind of get the gist here. This is going to take me a little while. Some of the Polycom firmware is really big, especially this in production stuff, which is about 300 megs. So we just kind of sit back, wait for it to finish. And I will just cut this and make it quicker in the post production. One, two, 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 two. 1, 2, 2, 2. Okay, I'm getting close to the end here. And should check the firmware status. It's unpackaging right now. Oy, 320 megs later, we have firmware. We have firmware. We keep waiting. 320 megs later, we just keep waiting. There we go. Finally. Takes a little while, like I said, especially to unpackage this 320 megabyte firmware from Polycom for these newer devices. It's probably the biggest firmware that we support. So we've got these phones enabled, and got some firmware installed. Should probably install the firmware for here too. Luckily, that's really quick because it's only one phone. And we'll install this firmware too, which I believe is not as big. Yeah. Okay, so we've got those phones. Now we come back to device list, as most people I think would normally do. And you're going to be sent right over to advanced settings. So we'll talk about some of the settings here. First of all, the IP address of your phone server. This is going to be what the phones register to. So if you have two different machines, maybe you're just running one for Endpoint Manager, doing some other stuff on it, and then you have another machine in your office or something, or a remote server, you should be able to just type in anything here, whatever the registration server is, determined for me. Just kind of runs a little JavaScript off of what's ever in the address bar. So if you have like if you're doing some VPN thing and it says 127.0.0.1 right here, that will actually go right there. So you want to just make sure that that's the actual registration server. For me, it's just this number right here, .5. Configuration type, we can have it either be TFTP, FTP, which is just file writing. It just writes to any directory. Doesn't matter where. You could tell it's some other directory. I could say just boot. Or maybe you have it in like var tftp boot, something like that. So we got that set up. I'm just going to do file for now. Time zone, I do not live in Africa, so let me change this all the way down. Depending on your system, this could look completely different because it pulls it right off the hard drive. It looks through the local files, so everybody's kind of looks different. I always forget where exactly I'm at. Los Angeles. And time server, you can do this. Most people can do this actually. 0.pool. These should be filled in. This is for direct access. This is for searching for phones. This is for adding phones. And this is for rebooting phones. Package server should be this. Otherwise, it can also be mirror.freepbx.org. As I get further into releases, I start actually making the same mirror.freepbx.org. So we go down here. The FreePBX ARI module, that is the voicemail recording module. I'll show you that in a minute. I'm going to enable that though. This allows users to edit specific settings that you define. We can keep this on, allow duplicate extensions, allow saving to hard drive configuration files. I will come back to this, specifically mention it. Now here, this is important right here. Disable TFTP server check. If you have it on file up here, I'm kind of assuming you're running a TFTP server. So when you click Update Globals, what happens is the Endpoint Manager tries to connect to your TFTP server, tries to place a file locally, then it tries to retrieve that file over TFTP. Now, if you're not running a TFTP server and it gets confused and thinks that you are, you can have serious timeout issues here. And what will happen is like Apache will wait for the TFTP server to respond, and TFTP won't respond. So it kind of just keeps waiting, and then you'll have timeouts. So what we do here is we have this little disable check here. And all I do is I just click this, click Update Globals, and you'll just see that it'll give you a little warning here that it wasn't able to check. Well, that's quite obvious. You can just ignore this though. Normally, if you have this unchecked, what happens is I click Update Globals, and it's actually placed a file there and tried to retrieve it while it was saving the files. Now, if the timeout happens, then this will actually be disabled. So let's say you click Update Globals, and it takes forever, and Apache's crashed, and now you have to restart Apache. Well, when you come back into Endpoint Manager, this should already be disabled for you. It's pretty simple to what all is here. If we scroll on over to OUI Manager, this will let you easily add just the first, 246 hex digits of the MAC address. This is so that you can easily find phones. So if there's another Cisco, since Cisco has 1 million of them, I can simply just add this in here, down to here, and I can say, well, they also have 8. And then I can just say that whatever that is. It's got to be installed though first, that's why it's not there. So if Polycom had this one, I could simply do this and add it in here. And then when I go to use the searching functions on the device list, which I will get to soon, you can simply, they'll show up because you've added them here. So we just delete this because I don't need that, and it doesn't even exist, I don't think. Product options configuration editor, I will come back to that. Importing, exporting devices list. You can simply export any devices you've already added with this CSV export right here, or you can also import devices quickly from a CSV file just by following this right here and keeping it, just keep it in that file, upload, and they'll automatically go in without devices assigned to them. Well, they'll go in with devices assigned to them. Okay, next, manual endpoint modules upload export. So if you have some issues connecting to the server when you go over here to endpoint configuration, if you click up, check for updates, and you have some error message, says it can't connect, or there's a server error or something, you can simply go to advanced settings. You go to modules, endpoint, manual endpoint modules upload export. And then you go to provisioner package. You can simply, what we do is actually, we're going to click on this link first, which, it's a 404. How about that? Now I'm going to have to fix that. So, where is this? The packages are actually over here. So we'll click this. And we're going to go to releases. Packages are all right here for you to download. They're no longer XML files, though. They are JSON files, so I'll have to fix that. But you simply just click on one of these. You download it. You don't need to do that. You just click on one of these and download. And then you add them over here just by clicking on brand package. And you just upload them right there. Shouldn't have to do this. Hopefully not. If so, then probably want to check DNS settings on your server. This is the provisioner.net package, which you will need to throw right there. And you can even export brand packages, like I can export Polycom right now. And just click there to download. And what I can do with this little file is I can see how the directory structure is set up for what we call provisioner.net packages. So you can actually modify your own, create your own for some type of brand that you have, and then upload it through the same process. Show hide brands and models allows you to hide specific ones. So let's say I have consumers or clients or whatever that don't use any of these phones. So I don't want them to show up. So I'm just going to hide them all. I don't care about this Polycom PTX 551 or 151. So now if I go to configuration, you'll see that they don't show up. And they never will show up, even if you click check for updates. This is just a little setting that's in there in case you want to hide stuff from people, or you don't want people being like, oh, I don't have an Astra phone. This supports it. Or if there's just too many options and you just don't want to deal with seeing them all the time. Let's show these back in really quick. So we've got all that done. Now we're going to go back to device list. And everything's good. There's no error messages or warning messages. Now I'm simply going to search. If you click search without using Nmap, any phone that's actually pinged or tried to connect to your server already will probably show up, just like these Polycoms, because they actually are already registered to my system. However, if devices don't show up, what you have to do is you have to run Nmap. And what that does is that will search out, and it's really slow, but it searches out and pings every device in your network according to your netmask right here, which, by the way, is now saved. So if you change this netmask, it will save and keep that memorized for you. So you won't have to keep entering in whatever you've changed in there. So it just takes a little while. Same stuff shows up. I know that this Polycom right here is my 550, and I'm assigning it to Polycom 550. I can add this phone really quickly right here. Now you can see it's green because it's already registered, and that's something to consider, because when you add new phones in and you add them right here and then you click on rebuild configs for selected phones and you click reboot phones, if the phone is not registered to asterisk, then it will not reboot. So you'll have to reboot it manually. After that, however, it should reboot. So you're going to hear my 550 reboot right next to me as I click this. Not actually sure if you heard that, but it did reboot. So it's rebooting right now. I'm going to go back through and add the rest of these, if I can remember what their MAC addresses are. takes a little while again, like I said. And just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And here it comes. Okay, so what we do is, I just gotta look. So what's nice is we can see the IP address right here. So I'm just going through the phones and actually looking up their IP addresses to see what they actually are. And add phone. So now I can reboot this 601 that's right next to me. And that's pretty much done right there. So now we've got this little setup going on here. We've got some templates, which are just custom templates. So what this specifically means is that they are using individual template files because there is a GUI backend to this. So you can actually edit like specific settings. It's not just adding your phone here and you're done with it. And then you have to go in and edit files by hand. We don't really want you to do that. I mean, you can do it if you want. Obviously, the settings are there and everything, but we try to make it easier for everybody to add cool things like on my 550, I can add a web page to the front of it. And it's pretty easy to do that in Endpoint Manager. So we can simply click on edit here, and it comes up here, and I can click on, as you can see, template, there's just custom. I can click on this little pencil sign, and I come up here, and now I can see all the advanced settings for this phone, or semi-advanced settings for this phone. We've got buddy list options, which, you know, edits the contact list file. We've got attendant stuff, which is new in the Polycom 4.0 firmware. Actually, I think it was all the way back to 3.3. But anyways, we've got some general settings here. I can easily add a little web page here. So I have this, and then I also do this, which has weather on it. And I don't want to reboot. Well, I do want to reboot right now. Set that up. 601 still offline, but should be coming online shortly. It is running the application file, which takes forever on old Polycoms. Luckily on the new ones it's fixed up. So some other cool stuff you can do here is you can edit the specific settings, which I am not going to bring up for that device because my password's in there. So we'll bring it up for this one since this uses a generic password. You can see that on the specific settings for the 601, I can see all the little settings here for this specific line. And as you can see, it's all FreePBX controlled here. However, what I can do is I can come over here to line 2. I can do some multi-tenant stuff. If I just click enable here and I uncheck this, uncheck a few more of these, I can simply start typing in these boxes and add other lines to these phones that are not on the FreePBX system. So it's really diverse, lets you add, you could add remote clients, remote offices, whatever you want for specific phones. And you can go down and you can actually edit some other stuff here. I can change the NTP server for this specific phone. I can change the time format, the date format, the voicemail extension for this phone. VLAN stuff's in here. There's IP address setting stuff in here, all for specific phones in case you want to change or have static IP addresses for these phones. You can even change the tone schema, which I believe is only supported in SNOM right now. We're kind of working on adding all this stuff to other phones, although all this stuff already works for sure. So I'm going to close this down. Don't need that. That 601 has finally probably loaded up. There we go. And now I'm going to go and do some more advanced stuff. So we're going to come over here to Template Manager. So let's say you have a bunch of 550s in the office, and you're like, man, I don't want to edit all these 550s individually. That's going to be a pain in the butt. Well, I agree with you on that. So what we can do here is we just create a template. Let's call it Office. And we're going to say we're taking this from the in-production models because the 550, as you can see right here, is from the in-production models. And then we're going to clone it from the 550. This actually, each phone can have its own different little set of parameters, but they all kind of follow the same basic configuration guidelines if they're under the same classification. So we're just going to set that and click Save. And as you can see here, we've got our little list going on. So let's say that I want line 1 to be on 3 different lines. We'll just do 2 actually. And we're going to come over here, General. We're going to put the idle display in here, but we're going to make this end user editable so that they can change it. That's something we'll get to later. It's going to be through the ARI module. down here, put this in here, and we'll let the end users also change their digit maps because I feel like being a nice guy. Come over to buddy list, enable this generic one that I have in here, Bob Jones. He's such a nice guy. Extension, he is 104. We're going to put that to BLF. And we're going to come down to the bottom. We're going to reboot this phone. Actually, you know what? Let's make this end user editable so that they can add their own person into here. So what's going to happen now? Let's delete this. We're just going to do this. I'm allowing what I'm doing here on this end user editable is the user can now log in through the ARI recording module and add their own first names and last names and extensions, and they can change the types to add you know, speed dials, BFLs on these phones themselves per phone. So this file right now is going to be a global for all phones that I have under this template, this Office template. This is per phone right here. So we're going to come down here, save. Phone's not going to reboot because I haven't assigned it yet. Now we're going to come over here, go to device list, come down here to reconfigure all, what is it, products with the Office template. Now you can also do reconfigure all models with the Office template. The cool thing about this is if I go to 330, I won't be able to allow it to configure all models with the Office template because remember, it's based off of this one right here, these in production models, so I can't do that. So after that, we will reboot, and we rebuild, and you can hear my 550 rebooting again. And you can see the template up here says Office. Now the cool thing about this is now you have this global template file, which you can easily come over here to Template Manager, come down here to Edit. You can come up here, we can edit some file configurations, or all this kind of stuff here. So if I wanted to add something specific to, let's say, Mac Reg, we can come up here. Got this little editor, and you change, let's say, MB limits cache to, I want this to be 7. So once I click save here, what it's going to do is it's going to update the parent window, it's going to create a separate file for you, and it's going to assign this template to that separate file. And then whenever you rebuild, what's going to happen is any phone that's attached to Office is going to use this new custom Mac Reg file. So we're just going to click save here. And that refreshed, and you can see that we've got Office and we've got a timestamp identifier to it. So what it does is it takes the template name, which is Office, and then underscores a timestamp on it. Now you can change the name of this, and I will show you how to do that in 1 second here. We're just going to come down here and save template. And we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you how to change the name of that right now. So we go to Advanced Settings. Go to Options, Product, Options, Configuration Editor. Select In Production Models. And we can see it right here. Now, the renaming part isn't that great. I probably should fix this, I admit. We can see the file here that we just edited. We can also create a new one. So what happens is save will save over top of the file you've already opened, and save as will create a new file. So I believe if I just do this, Office, and I'm going to call this Mac Reg, I can just click save. And that worked out just how I didn't think it was going to. Okay, so this is what you do. You come over here, we're going to go Save As, and we're going to do Office, Mac, Reg. And we're just going to say Save As that. Now we've got the new file over here with the new name. We can delete this name. I don't need that anymore. You can keep it in there if you want, though. Might be kind of easier to create the files here, too, because you can start off with the right names. So it tells you the name of the file that you've created. You can click on it to edit, and then it tells you what file that's referencing to the system. So I can come over here, I can also edit Mac. I can say, hey, I don't like doing exclamation marks in XML, kind of freaks it out sometimes. Do Mac, you can do Office, Mac, and save. And now you'll see it over here. And then it's as easy as going all the way back to Template Manager. we can edit Office. And now we're going to see our little drop downs right here. I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to select this one. And then we're going to click Save. My phone's rebooting again. But the nice thing is, I can edit them right here. There's my hey. And then you can just save, and it will not mess up the main page. It won't create a new template because it's detected that you already are editing a new template. Or an old template, sorry. So we've got that. That's all done there. And then we can come back here. Now, you saw earlier when I was at Template Manager, I went to Office here, and I selected these specific things. Oh, I didn't select here. Okay, well, I got to do this on this page too, actually, buddy list. Okay, you can see I've selected these right here, these 4 things that are editable now. So what that means is if I get out of this, we're going to go into voicemail, which I believe this is just this and this. And what we can see here is this little voicemail that I'm sure you're all used to. You can go down to phone settings. And these are the phone settings that we've allowed the user to edit. So the user can simply do this. They can change this to this and this to this. And they can add this guy's name in here. And BLF. And now when we reboot the device, you can hear it reboot right next to me. Now on the device's screen, it's gonna, all these settings are gonna be in there. Come back here. We can look around. You can see that I'm allowing the user to edit this, but I've set defaults myself so they could add their own web page. You can do anything right here that they need to. You can also remove these settings from them being able to control it and then recontrol it yourself. So if I click this, if I click save, even though the user has something in here, it's gonna go and override with my setting. And that's pretty much Endpoint Manager, put simply. Hopefully this will help you out in adding phones to your Office. We can do some rebooting here. Reboot all configs, rebuild configs for all phones. You can change phones from a brand to another brand. So I could change this Polycom 601. I could change it to, well, let's say I have a 550 here, and then the boss got a newer phone. I could just be like, let's say the 601 is like a new phone, even though it's not. I could simply do that, click Update Phones, and it would update that for me right there. And this is Endpoint Manager in a nutshell.